Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about GK strategy for all the exams of MBA predominantly, which includes IIFT, XAT, SNAP, TISS and CMAT. So a lot of time it happens that whenever we talk about GK, students do not have an idea that what exactly needs to be studied, right? And again, it's not important that you study everything out there because you don't have that much time. And again, studying everything doesn't really make sense because every exam has its own fundamental as far as the entire GK section is concerned. So today I'm going to point out what you should be studying in GK and what you should not be studying in GK, which will help you to kind of save on time. Only do those things which are quite important to crack the cutoff across the exams, right? From IIFT till your CMAT, right? So let's have a look at the topics first. So the majority topic as far as your SNAP or as far as your IIFT and all the management exams are concerned, this is what this majority topic will consider, rather will be comprised of. So if you talk about couple of topics, like they are like really important. For example, business and economics. Now when I talk about business and economics, it's nothing but current affairs. Now exams like IIFT or exams like SNAP and XAT, they do focus more on current affairs. But what exactly is current affair? Current affair is a combination of all the topics that you can see on the slides. Current affair is not a different category altogether, right? So I do understand there is something called as static and there is something called as current affairs. Now what do you mean by static? Static is something which has happened 100 years back or 10 years back or 20 years back. For example, dances, right? So which is a favorite dance in Maharashtra, something like that. So that's going to be static, right? So that's a static GK. But when I talk about when I talk about any organization, let's talk about WTO, right? World Trade Organization. Now World Trade Organization, as far as the head office is concerned, it's there, okay? It's static. But when you talk about WTO purpose, or when you talk about WTO chief, or when you talk about new appointment in WTO, or when you talk about new agenda by WTO, all these things are current affairs. Now whenever you look at current affairs, it's basically 1 or 2 years previous to your exam. So do not take current affairs is something which is out of the world. No, current affairs do have these kind of categories only. So let's focus on important categories. Business and economics, yes, one of the most important topic for all the exams. Business and economics is going to be current affairs, like whatever is happening in the economy, right? They might ask you GDP rate, they might ask you something about GNP rate, or they might ask you something about any of the business out there, like maybe startup industry or hospitality or education, anything, something from that kind of a topic they can ask you. Then comes the most important topic, that's called as international organization. Now when I talk about international organization, what I'm looking at is WTO, IMF, World Bank, NATO, OPEC, right? I'm looking at Asian, right? These kind of organizations. Now I will be making separate videos on each category, by the way. Here I'm only giving you summary. If you're running short on time, if you have your exams around the corner, just understand what you're supposed to do in a couple of days. So international organizations, it's going to be a static thing, wherein what they do is basically they ask you all about where is the head office, who's the chief, what's the purpose of it, the year of establishment, so on and so forth. Now as far as international organizations are concerned, whatever I've named, there are other organizations, they're called as G organizations, like G20, then you have G7, right? All that stuff. Now there is something that comes new into this kind of thing. Now as far as G20 or G7 is concerned, what will be a new question? The new question will be, when was the last time G20 summit happened? So it was happened in Geneva, or it was happened in say Russia, like wherever. So these kind of things are asked as far as G20, G7, G10 organizations are concerned. And when you talk about the WTO and all that, I've already mentioned that. Awards, when you talk about awards, it's Indian and international, across all the domains, Now as far as exam like CMAT is concerned, it's pretty much prone towards Indian awards. Exams like SNAP, XAT and IIFT are concerned, my experience is that they will be asking you about international awards, right from the Oscar till sports, any like Max and everything, right? So all the awards which took place in last 2 years will be asked in the exams. Then comes head office of Fortune companies. Now when I say head office of Fortune companies, it means there are a lot of companies, like let's say Fortune 500 companies. So are you supposed to do every company? No, it's not. Like there are so many companies, you're not supposed to do everything. So what you need to understand, when you talk about current affair, you only need to understand in last 2 years, which all those companies which made great news, right? For example, I'll give you a couple of companies. For example, Twitter. Snapchat because of IPO. Then you talk about Facebook, it's always been there. Then currently you can talk about General Electrics, right? Then you can talk about Alibaba, you can talk about Oyo, you can talk about Flipkart, you can talk about Walmart. There are so many companies out there. They have always been in the paper. They have always been in the news. They have made a great stuff out of the news. So this is something you need to understand. So rather than picking up everything in the world, just pick these companies, right? So they may ask, where is the head office of Goldman Sachs, or which is the head office of, say like PNG, or like HUL, something like that sort. Okay, so just keep that thing in mind. The other important category is international reports, like HDI reports, population reports, education report. What is the ranking of India as far as Human Development Index is concerned? What is the ranking of India as far as ease to do business is concerned? This is something really important. Now this changes, right? This changes on a yearly basis, but this doesn't change on a monthly basis because the report is out for an annual thing, right? So this is something again you can be good about. This is important. Then comes your international pacts and tie-ups. Now these things are only for government I'm talking about, okay? So these are I'm talking about government. So which pact India and China signed recently, or which pact India and UN signed recently, tie-ups between India and Russia on what, right? Maybe defense or maybe education, so on and so forth. So anything that has happened in last 2 years between any country in the world, you got to know this. Now from here I'll move to corporate mergers and acquisitions. So the way I said about your companies, in a safe manner, you need to understand what are the mergers and acquisition have been taking place. Now, a lot of people get confused, a lot of people misunderstood this thing, saying that only M&A which were succeed or which were successful or done 100%. No, even if there was a news, you got to know about it, right? For example, Walmart and Flipkart, right? So yeah, you need to know them, right? Some exams may ask you what was the valuation. An exam like XAT may ask you what is the valuation, or exams like SNAP or CMAT might ask you, who are the heads of these companies, or where these companies are from, or what is the main business line for these companies. Then comes couple of companies like Michael Kors and Versace, right? So I'm not sure if the acquisition has already been taken place, but there have been the talks as far as the acquisition is concerned. So you can talk about the parent company name, who's the head of Versace, what is the main business of Michael Kors and all that stuff, right? So these things you need to understand. Now let's move on to a couple of topics which you are not supposed to do at all. You are not supposed to do them at all. So that's the number one is books. There are a lot of students, I always speak to them and they say that, sir, I'm really tense. Books is one of the important topic, as far as GK is concerned, and I don't know anything. Now guys, trust me, there are gazillion books available there in the market. You cannot really be sure about these books, right? So doing books and authors and all absolutely is not working. You're not supposed to touch this topic. Now you might say that, sir, what about last 2 years books which are published, or books which have been talked about a lot in the news? Guys, I think the chances of asking these kind of questions are pretty less, because even the exam setter, they know that these books, like, you don't have books coming up in the market every month, right? So there might be one great publication, or there might be a lot of talked about kind of a publication. So I think it's 1 or 2 cases, rarely. So I think these kind of easy questions, but I have never seen any exam asking those kind of things. So I will not be favoring books as such. Then comes international geography. Questions based on deserts and Amazons and all that stuff. Guys, no need to do about this. Like, we don't know Indian geography properly, right? You are not supposed to get into international geography. Is it something that is not doable? No, it's not like that. You can definitely do it, but look at the trade-off. How much time you have to put in for, like, how many questions? Yeah, 1 or 2 questions. For 1 or 2 questions, I don't really want to put my head into these things for next 2 months. So don't do that. Absolutely no for this. Invention as discoveries. Okay, if there is anything which is substantial, so for example, NASA came up with some discovery or some invention which will help them to kind of get the business done quickly, or maybe Tesla, or maybe say the owner of the Tesla, if they do something differently which has been talked in the news, I think those kind of things you can keep in mind. But going back like 100 years back, 200 years back, and trying about the inventions and understanding them, it's a big no. So your invention is out, your books are out, then your international geography is out. In the same way, your Indian geography is also out. These things you are not supposed to touch. Even science you are not supposed to touch. These things, just keep them away from your preparation. You don't have to do them. As far as capital is concerned, I think capital should also be knocked off. But again, looking at the other side, capital can also be an easy topic. because there are not many countries that they can ask you, because there are a lot of countries they might not want to ask you, like for example US and India and Pakistan, because they might be asking you, it may be a country which is not known. But again, putting so much of efforts and only for one question doesn't make any sense, right? Rather than doing that, right, what I would like to do is basically I might go for currency. Okay, is there a currency out here? I'm not sure if I've made a mention here, but yeah, oh, it's over here. So I might want to go for currency. See, because you can break them into categories. So you have dollar, you've got dirham, you've got peso, something like that. You've got rupee, rupiah and all that. I will be making video on these kind of things like currency and capitals and all that. So you can tune to my channel to understand all these GK, you can do it anywhere in the world. Anyway, so I will be making videos on this. Then comes startups. Now there is a lot of buzz about startup. Now when you talk about startups, what basically the question is going to come is, okay, who's the head of this startup? Okay, which is the venture capital who has invested in this startup? How much money Sequoia has lent to this startup? Something like that. Okay, so these kind of things you need to keep in your mind. Then comes financial concepts. Short topic. Financial concept is going to be short because there are a lot of exams. IIFT is there, SNAP is there, CMAT is there. They will be asking you questions directly on these things. Okay, what is GDP? What is JNP? How do you calculate it? Okay, what do you mean by repo? What do you mean by reverse repo? What do you mean by forex? Something like that. You will get bare minimum one question from these things. You will get round about 2 to 3 questions from business and economics. International organization, one question short. CMAT, like an exam, they might ask you about dances and all that, okay? But other exams, I doubt, they might not be asking you. Financial budget, I will be making a video on it, what kind of questions you can expect from financial budget. So guys, if you look at financial budget, it's a vast thing, but don't have to do everything. But anyway, if you are interested for a GK or a JD purpose, you might want to go through that, but they don't really get in depth of this. Then comes your stock exchanges. Yeah, it's one of the important aspects. Stock exchanges are not much in the world, right? There are 10 to 15 important stock exchanges. Again, I'll be making video on this, so you can keep it in mind. Yojanas and bills. Okay, any bill that government passed recently, any bill that has been passed by US or any other country's government, which is like very much substantial, you got to remember that. As far as personalities are concerned, again, personalities is current affair. Any personality who has made a news throughout the year, right, you must be kind of reading about them. For example, PNB guys, then you talk about, Malia and all that stuff, right? All these cricketers and all that, all the celebrities and all that. So you need to remember all these things. So guys, if you look at, right, you have a lot of things to do as far as GK is concerned. But if you are smart enough, Constitution of India is not to be done if you are not giving TISS exam. Then talks about history. Can you see history? Okay, history out here. No, this is no. If you are not preparing for TISS, these kind of things are not supposed to be done. History, IIFT might ask you one question, but for that one question, I really wanted to study the whole history because I have no idea, which part of the history they might be asking you. Is it going to be Maurya or is it going to be, Mughals and all that stuff? So just don't get into all these things. So guys, if you look at, you have got a lot of things to study. But if you put them into an importance, right, you can only study these many things and you're sorted for your GK. Now, even if you do these many headers, I cannot promise you like you will be scoring out of, but yes, you will be scoring decent, and more importantly, you will be able to clear cutoff for all the exams, that's for sure. Now, in case of any question, you can put a comment on this, and for more GK videos, subscribe to my channel. Guys, thank you so much for your time.